Tommy Lee, good morning. How are you, my man?
Hey, man, what's up? What's up?
Hey, we were just talking. You guys are going to be at Blossom Music Center in the Cleveland area. Now,
Yep.
do you know all of these places? Because I'll bet I don't know. I've lived here 12 years. I'm guessing you've probably played this venue over and over and over again. Do you guys become familiar with these places? Like when you roll into a town like here, do you remember? Oh, we've played this 10 times before.
Well, the ones that have the same names, yeah. But man, you would not believe how many arenas you'll go to, and you're like, I don't know. I don't think we've ever played there. And, one year it's the Target Center, one year it's the Verizon Wireless Center, next year it's the AT&T building. You're like, hold on a second. It's the same place with a different name. Like, it's unbelievable how quickly they change ownership.
Now, I'll bet that the number one question that people ask you is this really the final tour? Because there are other bands that have done their final tour 10 times. Is it really the final tour, and how did it come about? Did you guys sit down and say, hey, we're not getting any younger, let's go off and enjoy the rest of these years without having to do this grind, or how did this come about?
Well, it's actually not a very popular question. I mean, I think everybody pretty much knows. I mean, we did a pretty large press release about it and signed a legal document saying that this would be the last time that all four of us as a unit, as Motley, would tour together. And we wanted to do that on purpose, and we made a big deal out of it because so many bands have ruined it with that sour word farewell tour. It's
right.
I can name a handful of bands that I think are still on their farewell tour. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't do that because we always thought that was just a really crappy kind of thing to do to your fans. You keep coming around and saying it's the last time when it's not. So we didn't want anything to do with that. So we wanted to make it really clear that this would be, the last time, and and clear for us and clear for our fans. So there's no misconceptions whatsoever. So when people are coming to see the shows, it's pretty wild because we all know that this will be the last time we'll all see each other, at least as Motley Crue.
Why do you think bands do this? Like you said, some bands have done the farewell tour over and over again. Do you think that they start out intending for it to be the farewell tour, and then a few years later, a promoter or whoever comes to them and they go, hey, look, we can make X millions of dollars if you just come back for one more? Is that what keeps these guys coming back, doing it over and over again, or are they just trying to dupe people, or what do you think the motivation is?
I think, I think money is always probably a big, a major motivator in that, and I'm sure that's the case, I mean, it has to be. I don't know why you would continually do that to your fans who supported you for all these years. I think it's, and for us, it's more about we really wanted to. We sat down and we've talked about this for years. How are we gonna gracefully bow out? Like a professional athlete or an actor or a musician. How there's a way to do this, and we want to leave coming. What am I trying to say here? We want to go out the way we came in, like everybody's in good shape and healthy and playing great, and that's how we'd like to leave it. Like we've seen so many of some bands that we grew up with, they're playing, county fairgrounds and clubs, and we're like, no, that's not how we envisioned it at all.
Yeah, I might have to actually. Believe it or not, I have never seen Motley Crue in concert. I'm 38 years old. I've been in radio for 18 years.
Wow, dude, where you been?
I know. I've never seen. I grew up in Vegas. I know you guys. I think it was you guys that did the final show in the Aladdin Theater.
Yeah.
And like people were ripping out seats and stuff because it was the last show at that place. And they were always great shows. That was a kind of a cool venue, and Motley Crue was the last last band that ever performed in there. But I was there like 2 nights before. I saw Pearl Jam or someone there. But I've never seen Motley Crue. I guess if Tommy, he's as long as this is it. He says this is it, the final tour.
Yeah, you better come and check it out, buddy. This is it.
Yeah.
And when I say check it out, and when I say this is it, I mean it. And if you were going to ever get a chance to check out a show, this is the one. The production is out of control. It's us, just putting it all out there, man. It's insane. You got to see it.
Is it as fun? I imagine a farewell tour is a lot of fun, but was there any part of your career with Motley Crue where it wasn't as fun? Like in the early days, things are wild, it's crazy. I'll bet that's a lot of fun. But was there any stretch between now and then when you would go out on tour and you would go, I'm not having any fun out here anymore?
Well, I left the band in 2000. I went through a lot of personal changes, and I quit for. I had come to that point in my life where nothing that we were doing as a unit was exciting me anymore, and I had so many other musical things, journeys to take, and I just felt like I had taken them all at that point, and so if there was ever one point, that would be it. From 2000 to 2005, I just, for my own sanity, I had to remove myself from the situation and go make some other music. As an artist, you can't keep painting this, sort of the same version of the same picture over and over and over, and playing the same songs like that. I just had to I had to step out and get away to actually appreciate it. Also,
Right. I know you did the side. What was the? It's just off the top of my head. I can't think of it right now. You did that other project back at around.
Oh, Methods of Mayhem.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and I was just in that headspace where I was like, I love the dudes, but I got to go do something else. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my freaking mind.
Yeah.
If you can only imagine, that's a lot of years of doing somewhat the same thing, not exactly the same thing, but enough to make you crazy where you're like, I got to get out of here for a minute, guys.
And with the same people. I mean, Motley Crue is at the, they're at a level where a huge mega band like that, it's not like you're stuck in a van with the same 4 guys, but you still have to see these guys day in and day out, have business dealings with them, and I imagine you need a break from people every now and then.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we've all been together for 33 years, and there's that thing that we all have. We'll always be brothers, man. And yeah, there's those times where just like anything, brothers fight or disagree, and we always don't agree on everything. But at the end of the day, we came, we saw, and we kicked its ass. That's another reason for this being kind of the final tour is we accomplished everything we set out to do. There's not really much more for us left to do at this point. We've done it all.
So does everyone in the band, after all these years, does everyone still get along? And I'm curious about the dynamics of how these things work. Does anyone, like on my radio show, for instance, if there's a dispute, I'm the guy that has the final say because it's Rover's Morning Glory, it's my show. But in a band where you have 4 people, if there is a dispute, how heated can it get, and how do you guys decide which course you're going to take?
Well, we've always had, a pretty cool system where it's kind of your show is your show. Well, our show is the 4 of us, so we've always kind of done kind of a majority rules kind of thing, where. If two guys ain't feeling something and the other 2 guys are, then we vote on it, and they have a tie-breaking vote. It's run like a corporation with 4 shareholders. Pretty simply, actually.
And is everyone an equal shareholder?
Yes.
So even financially, everyone's getting the same piece of the pie?
Yes, sir.
That's fair. You know, a lot of bands, they have a lot of animosity towards each other because the lead singer wants more, or this guy wants more, or whatever.
Yeah. The singer's driving around in Rolls Royces, and the other guys are driving around in Volkswagens. You're like, hey, what's going on here?
Right. And the guy's always like, no, it's the next album. Trust me. Well, you'll be cut in for your piece of the pie. You know, we were talking about Nikki Sixx, who has a radio show, and I was thinking, we were talking about this the other day. I said, I don't know why this guy, with everything he has going on, I can't explain why he wants to do a radio show. Nikki Sixx has been on the show before, but I've never asked him that. What do you think his motivation is? I guess it's a two-part question. What do you think his motivation is? Because he would think he has a bunch of money and blah, blah, blah. But that being said, with this being your final tour, what does Tommy Lee have in store in the future? What do you want to do in the future?
Well, I don't know exactly what Nikki's motivation for doing this radio show is, other than I'm just going to assume Nikki likes to talk. You know, he likes talking about things. You know, talking with people. I think he's enjoying being on the other side of the interview fence. You know, when he gets to ask people questions, he can ask people the same dumb questions he gets asked. I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming, and plus he likes to talk. You know, and it's a good place to be if you like to talk on the radio, right?
Right.
And as far as what I personally have in store, I mean, I'm sure each guy is going to, you know, it's definitely not over. I can tell you that. Like, it's over as the four of us, but individually, you know, I'm sure. I don't know exactly what everybody's plan is, but I've been definitely writing music and putting a bunch of music aside for a couple of different projects I have in mind. I can't really get into details, but you're not gonna. I'm definitely not going anywhere, my man.
Is there anything besides music that you would like to try, that you've wanted to delve into? For instance, when I get out of radio, I want to try my hand at making documentaries. Is there anything that you've wanted to do?
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you know about me, but I kind of have my fingers in a lot of different pies. Like, you know, I've been working on some other people's albums. I just finished the Smashing Pumpkins record. I've been producing some other people's music. I really would like to get. I would really. There's this thing that's been. You know. I really want to get my paws on scoring a film. Mm-hmm. So there's those kind of things that I haven't done yet that I got to do. I mean, trust me, I still got a list, man, that I'm working off. You know, so I'll be definitely dabbling in all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff that I've never done yet. That pretty much, you know, in Motley, you know, it's pretty time consuming. It takes up a lot of your time, and one of the things, and I know Nicky's experienced it with his band with 6 a.m. Every time I set out to do a solo record or Methods of Mayhem, it only can go so far, because you know, once the mothership calls and pulls you back into the Motley machine, we're off and running on a tour, and then all these things that you work so hard on and put so much passion into in your downtime sort of just go away, because you can't promote them anymore. You can't tour them because, like I said, when the mothership calls, we go.
Yeah.
So there's some frustration there. So that, you know, now when you do put all of your love into something that you're super passionate about, you'll actually be able to see it through, instead of it kind of being a half-assed, you know, well, shit, I'm out of time, so.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. So you actually can focus on something and not get pulled away 6 months later.
Right. and actually see it through, and give it some legs.
Tommy Lee is. By the way, Motley Crue. The final tour will be at Blossom on Tuesday, August 12th. People think of Tommy Lee as a ladies' man, which he is, I'm sure. We know his marriages. My researcher here, I have a whole packet on Tommy Lee, who he says you've slept with more than 1,000 women, and many of them are listed in my packet here. But I will say this. Some people may think, well, it's because he's in a rock band. That's how he's such a ladies' man. And obviously part of that is true. But this is something that I learned about Tommy Lee that I did not know. That he may have gotten this from his father, because if this is true, his father somehow wooed Miss Grease 1957, and that is your mother, correct?
Yes, sir.
So she, a Greek woman, Miss Grease, that means she must have been hot. Your dad was
way hot.
Yeah, your dad's in the Army or something over there, I guess.
Yep.
And how in the world does he have in the Army, does he have the game to score Miss Grease?
You know what? Both of my parents are no longer here, but my dad is a very, 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 very special guy, man. I learned a lot from that man, and he met my mom, and I think in less than a week had asked her to marry him.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah,
you've done that a couple of times yourself, I think. So like father, like son.
Right. Yeah, he's a really special guy, man. So I definitely have. My dad left me with some cool stuff to take with me.
Did they ever throughout? I don't know when your parents passed away, but did they ever throughout your career? You become a big rock star, but so they must be proud over that. But you had a lot of trials and tribulations with drugs and arrests and things like that. How did they treat that period of time?
It's funny because they would always. Yes, they believed in me when I told them, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to make music and play drums and all that. And they would just kind of look at me like, okay, we understand, but you got to finish school. And I would be like, when you're 16 years old and your parents are telling you just stay in school, that's the last thing you want to hear when you got these big old dreams that you're after. And I'll never forget. Just to turn 17, I'm in my senior year of high school, and I got a recording contract with Motley, and that was like, okay. Dangling in front of me was a high school diploma, or go rock the world and go tour and see the rest of the world and go be everything that it is that I had visions of. And I bailed in my last year, and still at that point my parents were like, "Oh my God, why don't you at least finish school and then go do that?" And I was like, "I can't. I'm out."
Right. Well, I'm guessing your dad being in the Army. I'm speculating I'm assuming he was like a buttoned up, straight laced,
right.
And you're the exact opposite. And I just, it's such a weird sort of scenario. And maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's because like kids who grow up with parents that are, hey, by the book, your room, you have to have all of your shoes lined up or whatever. You end up rebelling against that kind of stuff.
Their whole thing was like, but what if the music thing doesn't work out? I'm like, it's gonna work out. I promise you.
Yeah.
Like I guess that cliche of be careful what you wish for, is not such a cliche because it can happen.
And then when you're older in life and you were getting in trouble, you're getting arrested, you're doing this kind of stuff. Yep. Did your dad ever call you on the phone and say, "What the hell are you doing?"
Oh yeah, still. Oh yeah, constantly. But it makes it all worth it when that when they're not being doubtful, but when they're kind of hesitant about your choice in life.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my parents coming to see Motley Crue for the first time at the Los Angeles Forum. Okay, this place holds I don't know, somewhere between 15 and 18,000 people, and we had just landed the Ozzy Osbourne tour, and I remember the house lights coming on, and way out at the sound mixer I could see my parents. And for that first time in my life, I saw my mom and dad both look up and go, wow, he was right. He said he's got it. He's got it.
Wow.
And that, to me, that was worth everything that you could possibly ever, want from your parents as far as approval. You're like, because they would just always say, well, what if it doesn't work out? And I would be like, I got this. And at that moment, I saw in their faces, like, them looking around at all these people going bananas, and I could just see on their faces, like, wow, I guess he's got it.
Yeah, they finally understood it, and they finally
finally got it. But man, it was hard getting there.
Yeah. My parents wanted me to be there. My mom was a nurse. My dad was a doctor. I wanted to be in radio since I was 8 years old, and they're like, well, stay in school, get an education, and it's kind of like you. On a much smaller scale, I'm not nearly as rich and famous as Tommy Lee, but it's like,
I get it, though. It's the same concept, right?
Yeah, I knew what I wanted to do, and I did not want to sit in school learning trigonometry or whatever. Yeah. And
you're like, what am I going to do with this later?
Yeah.
This is useless.
And now I kind of think that my mother sort of looks at my career, and we've entered syndication. We've been syndicated for 10, 12 years or however long, and have done well. And I think she's proud, obviously. I think she's still somewhat amazed, like, wow, I can't believe my son makes a living for just talking for a living, for 4 hours a day. And so I'm sure
at one point they thought, are you serious?
Yeah. Well, they thought it would be kind of like your parents did, because they look at it and they look at the number. Your parents were probably logical, and they go, look, okay, Tommy is talented. He's a great drummer, but even with all of that, the odds are stacked against you of being successful and making a living. Yeah. Well, Tommy Lee will be here for the final tour, Motley Crue's final tour, at Tuesday, 7 p.m. at Blossom Music Center. For tickets, call 866-820-4553. You can also get tickets at livenation.com. And it's always a pleasure. And after this whole thing is done, because this is going to last a long time, this final tour. I don't know when it wraps up, but
it's about a year and a half total.
That's a long time, and
it's around the whole world, man. So after this, we're going to Japan, Australia, Europe, South America. You name it.
Where do you close it out? In Los Angeles? Is that where the final show is going to be?
That's where we're talking. We're talking now. We're figuring that out. But that's where we'd like to finish it off where we started it all.
Yeah, that would make sense. You almost have to do that, really.
Yeah, we pretty much have to.
In fact, maybe even do your big final stadium show and then do an unannounced tiny little club show on the Sunset Strip. That's
what I'm talking about, buddy.
There you go. As long as I'm invited, Tommy.
All right, well, come, man. Well, I'll hit you up.
Hey, listen, I appreciate the time you've taken today, and I think I may have to actually go there on Tuesday the 12th. I have to see it. You have to say you've seen Motley Crue before the whole thing wraps up, and this is pretty much your last opportunity. Hey, Tommy, I appreciate it, my man.
No problem, buddy. I'll see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you. Tommy Lee,